and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am.
Hello there, sweet beloveds, and welcome to another one of my video messages. So I've been thinking lately a lot about, there was a time again for a Elohim video, and I really felt that it's been a calling for a while. I've been pondering about it, and just recently a beautiful being contacted me, and we started talking about this, and I felt it was a confirmation, because I felt for a while now, as you know, I'm very diverse. I'm very multiversal in what I do and taking in the teachings, but mostly the synthesis comes from the consciousness that comes directly through me, and that of course is the extension of the Elohim blueprint. And I haven't talked about this a while. I haven't brought forth a message. I wanted to, but there was so many other things I put on my list, as always, busy bee. But before I want to share the message, because I've channeled a message that felt like it wanted to come through at this time. I felt it intuitively before, and I just wanted to sit in a beautiful sunny scape and just channel for the message. I want to read you before a beautiful feedback that I recently got from the soul. Those of you who haven't considered tuning into my Patreon, I do these love sessions there now. They're almost like an hour-long sessions, and each time we delve into something that deepens the journey of our union, because the page is called Illumined Ascension. It is a direct reflection of what I call the Illumined Union path, and every time I do these sessions, it's amazing. And so I feel this feedback just really denotes what I feel myself about the content of Patreon, which is more present. It's more like a spontaneous flow. It's not as prepared as when I do these free flow topics and sharings. It's different. It has more of a value to really bring forth the light codes, right? Because what I share in these awareness messages is to spark up, codes of remembrance and awareness. But on Patreon, it's like, it feels like we're literally as one group. Although I don't have many people there yet, I really hope the group would grow as people get themselves more ready at that level to receive. Sorry, snow is still falling from the rooftop, so I might get a bit like, the ghost from time to time. But I really wanted to share this feedback. I have permission to do so. So I recently posted this reading about divine beloved, archetypes for counterparts. Yeah, for counterparts, for divine beloveds as these powerhouses, these power couples. And it was a beautiful reading. So I received feedback about the reading, and then I did more. I deepened the awareness of the divine archetypes. How can you read energy this way? So in the theme of this video today, because it is about how to participate with energy, and it's a continuation of the video about how do we sustain our new bodies. I know people might have different ideas about what this is. It's not necessarily what they believe themselves to be. If you are, let's say, feeling physically better, more fit, that doesn't necessarily mean you have stepped into the new Illumined body template, because this is quite a journey, and you have to know many souls have worked lifetimes for this. And it's not just a matter of what is occurring in this lifetime, but it's really has been a journey of constant progression in that direction. Yeah. So yeah, it can be very much misinterpreted. Even my words can be filtered through or misinterpreted in the false way. Whatever kind of consciousness tunes into them, it's never my intent, but this is something I really don't have any influence over. So before I start with a little bit of the preview of what I want to talk about, then I will share the channeled message. I want to read you that feedback, because it was just so beautifully written from the heart. And then I started to exchange messages with this person. I will read you because she shared something so beautiful, and I asked her and she allowed me to share. So she said, Beautiful reading as always. I enjoy them as well as spirit messages tremendously. Your setup and everything, the encoded words just pierce through my mind space and as if washed through the content and programs of lifetimes. I highly recommend everyone to become Patreons. The energy on that platform is contained in a new, different way. It is more focused. Sometimes there are videos that are available both on YouTube as well as Patreon, yet I find myself more resonant to tuning to Patreon. I'm eternally grateful for these messages. So beautiful feedback. I know my group is still very small, and I don't know how many people actually watch the messages there. You do get email updates, and it started, I think I started doing content in September, and then it just started to grow exponentially. This month I've shared so much content. I overdid myself. I've overdone myself. Yeah, the only one I can actually compete with is myself, the previous me now. And it's just really been amazing. When I sit down and do these love sessions, I always think, oh, it's going to be 30 minutes of something, and then just, I don't know what's going to come. And sometimes just these messages come through, they need to come through, and it's amazing. I really love it. It's very channeled. It's like when I do one-on-one work with spirit sessions with people, the content is also deeply channeled. It's like I cannot access this myself. The reason why I'm able to do this work is because I function through synthesis. As you will see, that will be today's message. It's in my natal energy signature, but in my journey I had to acquire that signature to really embody it, to not just say, oh yeah, that's in my natal chart, but to really understand the way I participate with energy and why I'm here to demonstrate this new way, and how to help you on your journey. Not to say I have it, would you follow me, but rather say, look, this is how it can be done. Would you care to contribute? Would you care to be a part of this energetic field which makes us new humans? So that's what it's about. And Patreon is, for me, is like very creative in a new way. I really love doing content for Patreon, although I have much less people there, but I feel much engaged with the heart there. It's like my heart is more there than here with YouTube. And I've been saying a lot that I will gradually move platforms. It's been a process, because for me also, it's like sometimes difficult to disentangle for something which you were doing like for gosh knows how many years, right? I started in 2011, and now you know where we are, like 2019, so it's 8 years of hard work. So I will read you also the next feedback she shared with me. I think it's beautiful because in many ways my energy can be misinterpreted. There's a lot of people who in the beginning, I've heard that a lot before, who don't really get my messages. They start off very infatuated, then it's like, I don't understand, or it's not for me. Then I move along, they come back later, and it's very interesting, right? I get this so many times. But people who really have been with me from the beginning, I've recently got from many of these oldies goldies, my team, I've gotten these beautiful messages of how they transformed over the years, and how just my presence made them into becoming something they never thought they would be. And I really believe that's all you, because, you know, no being can ever do the work for you. You were the ones doing the work. I was just a force of love saying, hey, come on the next step, take the next step fearlessly, right? It's kind of like the only way we can influence and inspire others. We have no other means. So I also want to say, I would really recommend you in that term to listen to Manly P. Hall's lecture called The Quest for Spiritual Teachers. It's a beautiful, beautiful presentation, and also aligned with what I will talk about today, how to participate with energy in terms of apprenticeship, right? Devotion, the work that's necessary at the physical foundation level before you want to achieve higher levels. It's very important. And he shares about this as well. No one will do the work for you, like, ever. There's people seeking shortcuts. You know, you can watch a channel message, doesn't necessarily mean you will change. And a lot of people, if they don't have the instant result, they will distort you who's sharing the message instead of really looking within. Because there's also people who misinterpret that if they're not ready and they're not mature to understand that it's them who haven't taken the steps. It's not necessarily the guide who's been sharing the words. And I feel myself more just a loving companion than anything else, because I do that out of love. So, okay, I'll read you that feedback. It's beautiful. The reason why I'm sharing, like I said, is because it helps to see how people would perceive what I share. For me, it's difficult if I don't have feedback sometimes. I don't know, right? How does it affect people? Is anyone going along the stream of new consciousness? And it's difficult. Sometimes it's challenging. So when I get feedback like this, it's like spirit godsend, right? So the person said, your work differs significantly from anything else that I have encountered and explored. The language is pure. I appreciate the lack of personification of archetypes and energies, which is probably the Elohim essence, which is non-dual. It bypasses so many unnecessary definitions which just contaminate the mental body further. First, I thought it is just a matter of style, but now I realize that it is a level of consciousness where one just wants to connect and embody the essence itself. I have grown to needing to step onto a new time perception calendar, have been very consistently tuning into the new. So it's an honor to know you and resonate with this work. I think there is a prerequisite or a certain degree of unification within to understand and appreciate your expression deeply. I have discovered you several years ago. I would feel the essence, would intuit the value, but my mind wasn't ready to fully grasp your language. So I would continue to search the other structures and guides, and so I wouldn't be consistent with listening to your messages. It was, as a matter of fact, too complicated for me. Now that I have anchored a certain degree of union within, in other words, have done a certain degree of the work, I have grown to see the simplicity in the essence of your teachings. So many other pure souls just need to grow in order to understand you. Your level of advancement requires a significant degree of letting go of old programs, primarily of the structures of romantic love, because you know I talk about twin union and counterparts also in Illumin union terms. They will grow and purify on the way. Also, I feel as though the Elohim Ray are grounding on earth through your work, and those who grow to resonate and think the way you think about the spiritual aspect. Intellectually, I haven't been prepared. That is, I haven't read also about the Elohim consciousness, but as my heart opens now, and through this energy that you channel, I realize that I'm beginning to voluntarily invite this consciousness in and consequently expand around me. Maybe this is what others are going through as they awaken too. The Elohim consciousness is grounding here this way, and Spirit knows. And you know, there probably is a collective veil between this matrix and particularly the Elohim blueprint you hold. You're probably the only human who so fully embodies this energy. Well, I was shown very, very little. There is some sort of blockage and a filter which distorts the perception of you. You're all love and fun. Why would there be this thing, right? It's about how people sometimes think of you as too serious, or they don't want to approach you. It's a distortion, right? This is what we were talking about, these distortions. Why would there be this thing? Probably it is an old structure that is still lingering but about to be dissolved. I definitely have noticed that. I have definitely experienced it myself. And today I was just guided to share authentically what I feel. It was a guidance and a push. What a beautiful, beautiful being. Thank you so much for these words. And I think a lot about, you know, how do people perceive this? Because for me, it's not just blathering some words out, right? And then what happens? I really am engaging with everything I do consciously. And I know that sometimes it takes a while when I share something before it becomes more understood, you know, more from the group kind of level. And I feel that's why the Patreon content is more for those who are at the level of advancement, who understand sometimes the complexity, but it also is simplicity of what I bring forth. Because this is how I see spirit. It's complex, but it's understood in a simple way because synthesis is there. And I teach the synthesis through the art of devotion. So anyway, without further explanation about this, I want to give you a bit of the prerequisite to today's topic. It is a continuation of how to sustain the new body. So when I say the new body, a lot of people will automatically think, oh, the physical body, right? I will diet, I will exercise, I will this and that. You know, many ancient masters and sages always say, prepare the vessel for the vessel to be ready, right? And just in my recent Patreon video, I showed the pathway of the mind going like this, expanding, and then the path of spirit doing like this. And they're meeting in between, and that's the heart resonance. So there needs to be a certain quotient of light, literally translated in, imagine our body like a vessel that has percentages of water that, you know, it can contain until it's filled. And that's what Holy Grail means. It means the full attainment of that quotient that has now crystallized within. It began to overflow. Once you reach that state, you're in atonement and attunement with the Holy Spirit. That's the sacred baptism I talked about in the Holy Science video. And it's not a concept you can think about. You can meditate on it, you can do whatever, but it's a natural growth process. It's like everything we go through in our life is naturally adding up to that container to bring forth more nutrition that eventually, you know, it's leading up to more and more of that sustenance. So to sustain a new body is not just the physicality of it. There's many bodies that comprise the overall nature of our energetic field. We have physical body and the etheric twin, and many, many layers in between. It rhymes almost, right? But it's yet still so much more. To know the subtle mysteries the mysticism of spirit and form, such terms as the Holy Grail, the sacred chalice, the vessel of divine love. And that's that at one-ment with that love is you can have anything, but until that point is present, right, you're not overflowing. So I was also shown that many beings who are great healers even, they do great healing work. They maybe have clients every day, or they have tons of hours that they put into that. And I asked, why is that so necessary, right? Because in the sustaining of the new body, I spoke about participation with energy, like from more broader perspective, a larger view than just physical strain of constantly giving healing in your energy and effort. But I was actually shown that this is a process that does not just serve the client, but it helps the individual who is giving love in terms of either it's healing, either it's knowledge, whatever it is. You're filling yourself up. And all the ancient spiritual teachers, as you know, they've always said that. What will feed others through you will also feed you, because you're the first recipient of that source, whatever the creative aspect of that source is. So to sustain the new means to understand that you're filling up your vessel. Everything you do fills up your vessel or destroys it. So aspects of life that will go against the natural life force flow are all that simply creates distortions in our body. And one example I love in Manly Hall's lecture, The Quest for Spiritual Teachers, is when he mentions disciples, right, who are so eager in one level, and at the other level they're like so easy to smoke a joint, or it's like saying, oh yeah, I'll do this devotion, and then every once in a while I've got to get a little marijuana into my body. And I read actually comments underneath. Sometimes I do that. It's funny, right? Because you see what people, where they are, how they think, and what they want to hear. And there's these comments from people saying, oh, come on, wake up, Manly, right? We're in this 21st century now. Everybody now knows the deeper meaning of marijuana, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, where are these people getting their information from? I really don't know. I have to tell you, when I tried marijuana once, it was with someone I was with once when I was younger, and I really just consciously wanted to take it in to see the effect on my body. I needed to learn through experience. And I just saw how it numbed my body down. And I remembered in our class, right, in high school, we had this girl who used to smoke all the time. And in a couple of months, she overdid 1 year. She later got better. But she was coming to school full of stains and uncombed hair and ragged clothes before she was so beautiful and was vibrant. Suddenly she fell into this weird apathetic energy. And people say, well, it heals you, right? And people who have cancer, then they smoke marijuana, they help to numb the pain. Well, yes, because it has that effect to numb you. And they say, well, the content of it, it has nature properties that will uplift your consciousness. I didn't feel any of that in my body, to be honest. And I know people who are very much for it will say, wow, you didn't have the right kind, right blend. Okay, whatever. It's just a matter of opinions here. But truly look at the nature of why, if everything is given to you in your body, if everything, every delight, every pleasure, every sweetness, every juiciness of life is already within your body. Think of the nature of orgasm when it's approached properly. It's all placed through the seed of life. So that's the first emphasis of the Elohim consciousness message. Is everything was placed in the beautiful, refined nature of the human body. However, there was so much distortion in between that now humans are all about the battles of wills, opinions, and all that, right? So now people who want to hear what they think they need to hear, they will hear that and they will justify that with their behavior because it justifies their behavior. Let's say it like this. So the teacher would say great wisdom and they would say, oh, just wake up, It's like the teacher is being an idiot here. Come on. A teacher was a being who's gone through things larger than life. That's why they've acquired this wisdom. So to know your body through sacredness, you will not take in anything that's having an impact that does not contribute to this upliftment of the light quotient within you. You won't. You'll naturally want more out of life. You will want to grow and get more and more. However, there is a pitfall in these New Age circles because now everyone wants to get that more, but in the wrong way. As you will see in the channel message, the Elohim give an example, right? The example with wanting something from the outside. You're gonna laugh later, maybe. But it's just this, always a desire for something to be reached instead of being in alignment with that which is virtuous, which helps to contribute to a light force, and that being granted to you by spirit. So many people want these advanced states of consciousness when the integrated aspect of them is not even able to receive them. So people go to these workshops, show me how to do Kundalini activation, show me how to do this, how to activate my third eye. Imagine you get a vision. And a vision, when I say a vision, not a projection of the mind, who contains memory stuff, right? All clogged up there. But a true vision. A vision knows no duality. You can see images of shadow, images of light. Imagine you seeing that. It's like people who say, oh, I want to see a light ship. And then they see physically something. I've seen something on one channel this week when a woman was terrified. She recorded it, but she was out of her mind. She was freaked out. She saw a vision, right? It's one thing to want a vision. The other one is how you handle it when your level of integrity, whether it matches that or not. That's why so much work of embodiment is required for you to get the goodies. And I love Manly because every time he talks about the same thing, it's people wanting the goodies, but no one doing the work. And now in these spiritual circles, right, like he also mentions, people want to go to get something, and they go to a guru, and the guru will always say, oh, I have mastered that. Let me teach you. Let me show you, right? And it's one of the reasons why in my courses I don't do that. I just simply provide what Spirit shows me, assists to constantly circulate, cultivate, refine the life force mastery work within. That's all I can do in my work. I cannot do more because the work cannot be done for another. And just recently I've been talking about this with another one of the companions, because we were talking about this tantric stuff and these, I've shared with you this dream, astral, you know, like sucking energies, and a lot of very powerful people have these experiences. I've heard that a lot from people. They said, I had these astral visitations or sexual assaults or attacks there. Well, in truth, in astral form, the rape or attack is not seen as in the physical form, because it's a little different. And what I've recently shared with you in that dream visitation, Spirit often tells me that there's a bigger picture at hand, because a lot of times things will be allowed if they serve a growth or progression of something, if you're mirroring something to another being. So you teach them through demonstration. So in my dream, remember I shared with you, if you listen to that video, if you contained through the very end, if you persisted through the end, endured, it was almost like I didn't make any move. I didn't give them a reaction. I didn't give them actually what they wanted. They wanted to stir something in me, but I didn't. I was just still. I just knew everything about them, their intentions, but I didn't do anything. And it's how we learn about, you know, if you study Hermetic principles, you will know that one of these principles, and it's very important to study, by the way, because knowing these principles, you can apply them in your life and everything you do, so that you're getting off the karmic treadmill and really engage with energy in a new way. That's non-dualistic, not pulling you into aspects of life that are not meant to be with you. So, in that extent, what I want to share is, in the law of resonance, I believe, law of rhythm, sorry. In the law of rhythm, you have the pendulum, right, that swings from left to right. And always one swing will, you know, propel and trigger the swing to the opposite position, right, to the opposite side. Only the middle ground, which is what masters teach. They teach this moderation. That's why living moderately is so important. Not because you have to prove to the world that you can, you know, withhold yourself or whatever, you can endure. No, it's because of that law. Because only staying neutral, that's the true middle core of benevolence. You don't allow anymore. And this swinging of the pendulum is what causes this karmic law of cause and effect. All of these 7 laws basically are intertwined, as you know. So it's not like studying them individually is enough. You have to know how they interconnect. You will see that in the shared message about the learning to tap into energy through at-one-ment, through synthesis. So we were talking, let me get back, with this individual about these Indian gurus, right? Not all of them, but most who have this negative effect. And she said, well, do you know that every one of them has actually 2 dark tantric kind of like beings that kind of work through them, and they suck in the energy from people. And people will get afraid and say, oh my God, no, that's not true. Oh yeah, we only want to see the light, right? So when I said before, imagine you wake up to vision, which is divine vision. That's truth. right? No hallucinogenic whatever effects that basically are projections, distortions. This is what marijuana creates. It taps into the many tapestries of the astral field. I've talked to you about that before. You don't need marijuana. Every night you go into the astral field. What it requires is integrity and mastery, and how you will own these energies, how you will face them. I do a lot of spiritual training in the dreams. And each time I'm so excited. Every day I wake up, oh yeah, another badass response. Yay, because I'm excited for me understanding the dream world. As you know, in the movie Divergent, they go into these simulations where they go through these different stories they have to master. They have to build up proper responses. You know, how do they respond to energy? So to participate with energy is not just to meditate in your space and be all, you know, wow, I'm always with the light. No, but be what truth of the matter, whatever it is, and that's integrity. That is what eventually builds your integrity. So in terms of seeing the truth, like in many distorted versions of what the guru is, I'm so sorry, because the word guru, as much as all the other words, have been so deeply misused. And even ascension, now you have these beings who study from books, talk about what ascension is and give workshops, and probably these beings never ascended in other, let's say, lifetimes. So today in the channeled Patreon content, Spirit actually shared what the word star being means. Because as beings, we say, oh, these are beings from the stars. They're away from us, right? So many light years away. And they have different consciousness related to that star, right? Like our sun is our star and feeds through solar logos our identities and lives that we live out here on Earth. No, they said that's a partial understanding, but the word star being is the being who has reached ascension, who has become star born, like a star reaching a supernova state, which is an ascension of the star. So that is what a star born is, a star being truly means. But we as humans, we distort everything, and we put these fairy tale aspects of it, and it's interesting, right? We explore with life, but it doesn't mean that we're ready for what's coming. So again, I'm going back to the main message. It's the integrity within. It's your spiritual ownership and mastery that you truly require as that main superpower. Because it's a natural response when you have more integrity. You don't want to do this. You don't want to engage in that. You don't want to give, you don't want to get involved in situations that are not for you to even get involved with. Because sometimes people say, well, I'm doing it for the light. I need to get involved in this and tell people what I think, or, you know. And we're always excusing ourselves for saying, I'm doing that in the name of the light. Well, who says that, right? I mean, we're experimenting with life as souls are learning and growing. But, you know, we've been justifying so many things at the expense of what's really true. And not sitting down and saying, okay, like Manly says in the lecture, not just knowing your virtues, but also your negative attributes, right? Which are your mistakes, he says. And only putting effort into virtues, you don't grow. And speaking about that, right, like quotient attainment, and talking about, you will see Elohim speaking about life force existing in different levels. And one level of life force, just being the physical life force that sustains our bodies, is, I have one good example, because if you only see life force this way, you might feel I'm a master of raw power and physicality, but you don't have any other vista of life, right? I met this person once, it was online, and the person was, he was into these health stuff, right, and how to increase your vitality, all these total knowledge of, right, these foods and what's in them and all how it affects you. But as a person, I don't mean to judge at all, but the person was just so crass. They were rude. They were thinking they can just, you'll see later in the video, they can just grab the cake and have it and play with it a while and then just leave it and go away if they want to. They were not a nice person. They had no kindness and respect for other people. And I could quickly see that just by how they engage with me. And Spirit has shared a word. They said, they called him infantile. And I didn't know what that is. And I go, I go check it out, and I realized, and there was an article about it, that it actually means a person who presents something of themselves, but they're not that. And they wanna maintain this as a status quo, but their energy is less developed than this. And so the infantile means acting as if, but never as so, if you know what I mean. So it was really funny. And these examples of life that show us where integrity is missing. So you can have the best body, right? You can master, like, oh, I want to master myself. I want to look gorgeous. I want to have all the power in the world. But master will always tell you, how are you using this power? How are you using it when it comes to relationships, to other people? How are you flowing with love? Are you emitting love? Or are there other frequencies that you have internalized within your raw life force power? When I talk about life force mastery, that's not the life force I'm implying at, just to be very specific. So these Kundalini, breath work, workshops, all the people do to get to that, because they want to advance somewhere, instead of just naturally embracing the advancement as a byproduct of your integrity, of your devotion to life, to love. With love, when you have love, like true love, I don't talk about the love as an idea, right? This fluffy, wishy-washy love, but really love, which is truth. At its highest principle is truth. When you live truth and demonstrate love, when it comes to that truth, everything else will flow, it will align, and all the facets of life will be presented to you. Like, I'm instantly, when I'm not concise with something, I will see it, because I have love. Love doesn't mean I'm always perfect in everything, but because I have love, I'm open to that love, I will instantly see when I'm inconsistent or incongruent with something. I will see it, and I will, you know, put it to front lines and say, I need to work on this. Hey, I need to witness this part. That's what love does. Love doesn't pretend to be something it's not, just for the just of it, right? To get an impression or status quo. There's almost like this sleepiness, like a haziness around the New Age, where everyone wants to be something they're not, instead of just really, really saying, hey, what the heck? Let me just really get devoted to the potential of all I can be, and eventually I will just grow myself, not even noticing, oh, I am this. When was this embodied? Oh, I was so busy being love, I didn't even notice. You know, it's that kind of journey that this is. This is what occurs for me. The reason why I get so much creative insights, and sometimes people say, how can you do so much such a short time, is because time for me doesn't exist, and I'm offered these beautiful demonstrations of high spiritual insight because I don't really ask for them. I don't need to pray and ask for this and that. I just, every day I show up and I want to serve. And in that doing, everything is already being served, if you know what I mean. It is that simple. That's how love is. That's how love shapes the human condition that was before, which you incarnated into. So a very important part of knowing this is that the higher spiritual refined gifts don't come to those who are not yet worthy of receiving them, not meaning, oh, you're unworthy, this person is worthy, no, but they haven't done the work of truly attaining that. And just listen to the lecture from Manly. It's a beautiful lecture. So it's a really beautiful work of art, and it's absolute truth. If you devote yourself to something, right, you need to show up consistently every day, meaning one aspect. And it's like a spiral grows itself this way. It's not like, oh, today I can be in this position, tomorrow in this one. No, a spiral always needs the core, and from that core it coils up like the coiling serpent. So having such a low state of moral integrity, and at the same time wanting to be spiritual without even knowing what that is in terms of vertical, in horizontal, embodied. And that's why I love this lecture, because Manly says in this Eastern tradition, there's this anticipation of the guru called Maitreya. But in truth, Maitreya, in that language, it means kindness. And it talks about the guru of the next age is actually the essence of kindness. So that's what I mean when I say people are inconsistent with what they think about themselves and their actions, and how they actually demonstrate either love or other alterations of what they think it is. Right? Consistency is that which is of the above is below. And in that terms, when you're building up your light quotient, you're like gradually increasing it. It's a natural, you know, when it's like a gradual process, it also expands all the other levels and layers simultaneously. You don't get so fixed into, I need to achieve this, that you get so frustrated about it that you get tight, you get tightness in you, right? So maybe that person, when I gave you one example, focused so much on that vitality. It was almost like superfluous. How to pronounce that? A little superficial it was. That they forget about other qualities of life. So it's possible. It's happening a lot nowadays. This is a no intention meant as criticism to anyone. I give you these examples to see how you can recognize this in our own behavior, mirror to others, but either way it has to be reflected back to the self. And this is usually the kind of work that doesn't seem as interesting in doing this breath work and getting my kundalini up so I can have spiritual power and see things. You can get very much in the mind. Again, there's a beautiful lecture from Manly. I think it's about the problem of possession, spiritual possession and astral possession, because he talks about these different cases of people. Amazing. I love that lecture as well. Different cases of people who have convinced themselves to be possessed by something external, and I've talked about this in many of my topics before. So they have been so deeply into that even if you would prove them wrong, no, they're so in knowing, seeing what they think, but it's their brain producing this and these visions, and it's not necessarily a reality. You know, there's a lot of science behind this, different examples, different cases. So you can listen to that as well. It's very enlightening, very illuminating. So in that term, you know, the mind can be so deceiving in what's truth. So only by being in integrity, spirit will show the benevolence of itself, which is non-dualistic perspective. So the Elohim consciousness is that. It's the seed of life. It's existence in that benevolence. It's beyond any polarization at all. And you might think, well, we're humans. We're always going to be a little polarized. No, not necessarily. As you know, there are examples of great divine personages who've actually proved humanity through their own demonstration that you can become in full attunement at one with that, right? So to participate in energy in your way, that was more of a, I feel sometimes I need to open the pathway for then a greater message to come through. So I felt these things were important for me to talk about now, as in not being so misguided, right, misled. Probably those who are watching the videos are not, but maybe sometimes someone comes and they're like, what is she talking about? That's not true, right? I know this guru and they did this good for me, blah, blah, blah. If in any way something that you believe you received from another person increased your power instead of increasing love, it wasn't from the state of what truly the word guru means. Guru is a divine teacher. Go to my Holy Science video when I shared these scriptures of the Sri Yuktasvar. I talk about this. It's not what the word guru means. There's a lot of fake personages that play. You know, we can all play. This is a world of dualism. Everyone can play their role. Does not necessarily make you a divine personage. So, ancient great scriptures were written by those who truly were these adages, right? These personifications of a state of divinehood. But nowadays, there's so much filtering, distortion. That's why I felt called to share this message, because in the same way that something of the light can be distorted, also shadow can hide and, you know, have a filter, a little mask, but underneath it is like this rotting carcass kind of energy, right? People who are immature souls, who are seekers, they will not recognize this. So when we spoke about this with this being, this companion, she was sharing with me how in one of her dreams, this dark tantra master was kind of like pulling the energy, they were trying to pull the energy, but she saw them. So because she saw them, they had no more power. It takes seership, it takes vision. And that's the vision of spirit. That's the eye of the Shiva, the eye that's been unified, the one single mind eye, right? That directly will translate anything that seems to be into the reality of what truly is. And this is where most immature souls will continue to fail every time until something is so deeply stirred in their life that they will say, okay, maybe that's, just maybe, just let me give, you know, one questioning that maybe is not how I perceived it to be. So people who are so deeply defending their beliefs, like, oh, what does this person thinks he is, right? Talking about my marijuana this way. And they never ever even say, I will question it. Maybe I'll just, what if I just try to question it myself? What if there's a little bit of the truth coming forth, right? So the participation with energy in a new way requires constant observation and constant questioning not doubting, but this free flow state of openness where you don't put things into boxes, and then you kind of hold them tightly so much that you have to defend them at any cost. The moment you find yourself defending something and not being flexible in energy, there's a catch there. There's a hook. So I think that's enough for now. I hope you didn't kind of give up before the message comes in. The message has a different component, right? It expands much more on how we are receiving these new energies, because I notice myself, there's days when I won't be able to do much because the energy is that intense, and through the message they eventually get to that point of sharing why this is so, and how we're learning to feel the oneness of all that's coming into our sphere of being by being aligned and very much at the core rooted and always centered in our magnetic field. So the consistency of the patterns which help to build a healthy physicality, like foods, superfoods, all that's nutritional for you, are very important. But if you only focus on that, it doesn't mean you will achieve higher states of refined spiritual life force that has been spiritualized. And in that way, it has no more that desire, have, need. Maybe at a certain point, you give up and you say, you know what? I don't need, why should I seek this special yogic attainment or Kundalini activation? I'm going to allow myself to just relax in life and receive from life. And if that's my natural birthright, how is it not already occurring? But, right, again, there's a catch. Us needing to meet that, which means we have been earning that by demonstrating integrity of the soul, which comes through divine virtues. Sometimes we call them angelic essences or qualities of life. It's all very much connected, but it's how it is. Sometimes it really takes that surrender to make you see where you are truly, not where you're trying to be. And I hope you will like the message coming through. I think it's about a half an hour long, which will make the overall video very long. Again, it's just how it is. But for now, I think I'm going to have a little break because I've channeled a lot of content lately. And I hope you will join me on Patreon one day, sooner or later, because there's so much beautiful content there already. And I cannot wait to see you there, okay? The more of you, the merrier, and the more I will share. So thank you for being here. I love you all so very much. Love is my power. Take care. Bye.
Come into my world, the world of the elven song, magical.